Hello, everyone. Welcome, community. We have got the amazing Greta Grace with us today. She's actually the first cab off the rank to be doing these projector success story interviews. The idea is that I'm pulling projectors from all walks of life so that we can just have really deep and meaningful conversations about different ways you can show up as a projector in your life or not showing up as a projector. And Greta is a really unexpected projector that I connected with fairly recently, actually, and locally, which is amazing because of where I live. There's not too many aligned people that are working within the wellness space like Greta is. And so we met through her new studio, which is in Ostuni, an amazing town here in Puglia, where we both are located. And she's opened an incredible studio space offering elevated wellness experiences bilingually, which is fantastic. But she is many, many things. She has come from the corporate world, and we'll unpack that a little bit more. But she offers amazing retreats. She works within the coaching space, and she's really in the world of empowerment for founders and leaders. And that is really her calling, from what I'm understanding, in her life now. But she does a lot, actually. Her scope is broad. So I want to unpack that a little bit with her as well, because I'm like, how are you managing to do all this as a projector? That said, she is a 2-4. So it is really important in these stories that we actually look at people's profiles, because projectors are really different. And Greta is a 2-4. So she really is living a 2-4 life, because this is the networker, the opportunist. But the 2 is the hermit, and it's that person that's hearing the call. And I think Greta can really resonate with that story, and she'll tell us a little bit more about that. But welcome, Greta. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. We're on shaky Pugliese internet today, but we're going to hope it's going to hold up. So welcome, and
Fingers
thank
crossed.
you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ann-Maree. I'm really, really happy to be here and excited to be the first one on this new venture journey that you have. And yeah, excited to dive in.
Okay, so I guess the first question I'd like to open with is, when did you actually find out that you were a projector? Can you tell me a little bit about that story?
Good question. I can't recall, but it must have been sometime along my coaching founding story. So 7 years ago, I started my business. And with that, with my coaching business, retreat business, well, the retreat business is older. It goes back to 2014. Even when I was full-time employee, I would run these beautiful retreats. I don't remember, to be honest. I don't remember.
It just kind of came in through the human design world. You checked out your chart. Did you have a
Yeah.
reading?
I had a reading later down the road at one of my retreats, and one of the participants was a human design reader, and so she gave a beautiful masterclass at a retreat, and then I booked her to have a personal reading. But I remember when I first found out, I was like, "Oh my God, this makes so much sense," and that's why I am the way I am, and this is why I do the things the way I do them. So I was already quite aligned. It just gave an extra layer of, like putting words to what I was already doing very naturally, intuitively.
Yeah, I think a lot of projectors can resonate with that. It's like a validation that you almost feel. It's like, I knew that there was something off or unusual, but I didn't really know how to put words to it. And then you hear that, oh, I'm a projector and I'm designed a little bit differently, and I have an open sacral and these aspects. And I know that through your journey in the corporate space and that kind of conventional employment world, you had this kind of cyclical burnout pattern as well. That was quite a feature for you, yes?
Yes, absolutely. That was terrible. But it was also the reason why I got on this journey of discovering myself deeper. Mm.
Yes. And I think a lot of us resonate with that pathway as well. What has it been like, though, since leaving that employee space and that burnout cycle and jumping into entrepreneurship? I know that a lot of us can think, oh, this is going to be easier because I'm going to be able to set my own time and my own schedule. And all of that. But then often the burnout can kind of follow you because you're like, oh, wait, I'm now actually doing all this heavy lifting myself. I'm needing to build something,
Yeah.
at least for a while, with my own energy and my own steam. So, can you share with me a little bit what that journey has been like over the last 7 or so years since you sort of stepped away and started building your own empire?
Beautiful. Thank you so much also for your introduction. I loved it. Yeah, I mean, the reason why I decided entrepreneurship was literally, first of all, because it's always been my dream. As a little girl, as a teenager, I knew I was meant to lead people. I was meant to do things my own way, and I always did. Whether that was on stage performing ballet, whether that was crafting things during summer holidays and selling them and getting all my cousins and brothers to produce with me, for me, and expand the business, you know. So, but then of course life takes over and you go for the conventional path, or at least in my case, until I came to this point of having these recurring burnouts, and I call them mini burnouts because every time around my cycle, my menstruation, I would be knocked out, and all I could do was stay in a dark room with my migraines and just, breathe and rest. And I was like, okay, this is not normal. And although I was leading a startup and then building a team and scaling the startup, I was like super on purpose. I loved my work. I loved my team. It was great fun. I was like, this is strange because I'm doing something that I really like, and yet I get these physical symptoms. So like, what's wrong? And then when I discovered about my cycle and the different phases and this feminine cycle wisdom, oh my God, my entire life and world shifted. And with that, I started to implement changes at my work. So while still being employed, but I was working very strategically on my exit strategy. So I was like, okay, this is probably the time to build my business. I've gained a lot of experience doing corporate jobs, startup jobs, building own teams, leading other companies' teams. It's like I'm ready. And so really, starting my entrepreneurship career has always been founded and uh, reasoned to be in alignment, like to actually be fully in alignment with my, not only my purpose and mission, which I had figured out by then, but really being in alignment with my body and my energy and my rhythms. That was fundamental choice.
Mm.
So, I did not start entrepreneurship saying like, oh my God, it's all going to be different in entrepreneurship. I was like, no, 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 no. I'm building this business around me. I'm building the business so that I can honor my projector energy, my cycle, my phases, my superpowers. And by the time I did not yet had the insight of human design. So, but it was priority for me to honor my body, honor my cycles of energy and different variations of that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I got chills when you were saying that the alignment was more about aligning with your body. Mentally, you were enjoying your work, you were feeling fulfilled, you were being productive and purposeful and having impact, but your body was going, this is not working for me. And I think that's such a beautiful recognition that you've been able to share, because I think it's the
Mm.
the piece that a lot of projectors will ignore, because
Mm-hmm.
it's
Right.
really the projector body that does not
Yeah.
cope. The projector mind, this
Yes.
intellect that we have, can go all day.
Oh my God. And very far.
Yeah, like give us stuff to
Yeah. To
intellect
do.
over and we will just go. But the
Mm.
body, the physicality is that energy point that we have to be much more aware
Oh
of.
my God. Yeah. And
Yeah. And I love that you're sharing that was your recognition. Yeah. And here she is with this injury. It's always the way. Projectors will have this tripping point with our physicality. And it's interesting because Greta has a fourth line body. So in her 2-4 profile, the 2 is her conscious and the 4 is her body, her unconscious. And in fact, her body is quite resilient because it has this ability to kind of be in different places and spaces and really like interdigitate into lots of different environments. But she will also be pulled up. If something is too much, then she will be pulled up. And
yeah.
she's been pulled up recently. She just had a fall, and you know, in a way, she's had a minimal injury compared to what she could have had. But of course, these things are like breaks for us
Yeah.
as projectors, just like bitterness is. That bitterness signpost, if something's going off with the projector vehicle, the body, it's like, okay, wait. And the thing that I think I love hearing more about from you as well is this journey that you've had with your hormones and the feminine cycle, because I think a lot of projectors, particularly women, will also relate to that, because most of us are living in a very masculine way in that employment, corporate, work-driven model. And the projector essence is actually naturally more feminine. So for many of us, we kind of come back through the hormonal doorway first. And what I love for you is that you're an emotional authority as well. So you're all about cycles anyway, the emotional waves, the peaks, the troughs. So it's so lovely to hear the way that life shows us and pulls us back into alignment in these ways. It's really powerful.
But let me tell you, it's not been joyful
No.
a good amount of my life. Like it was like, oh my God, what is going on? What's wrong with me? That was my, for really a long, long time, that was my inner thought process. Like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I so, going through these waves? And why am I so down now? And why I'm like, then I can be so high up. And yeah, nobody told me, nobody taught me this as a young girl. And if I had known, my entire life or childhood and everything after would have completely been a different experience. And I was just talking yesterday over dinner with a friend, and he said, now I've gone through my awakening and like spiritual journey and really returned back to myself and this self-love, that now I don't actually feel excited about having children for that purpose, like to transmit all of this knowledge that we didn't have and had to suffer and go through and discover so much more by ourselves through painful stories, through backlashes, through illness. And it doesn't have to be this way. It shouldn't have to be this way. So I'm so excited that we today can pass on this knowledge, and you don't have to struggle. Like there's absolutely no reason to struggle, because I'm the living testimony now, and I'm pretty sure you too, Ann-Maree. I'm actually feeling so full of energy and doing so many more things that I could have ever imagined, in ease and flow, and honoring my essence. And this is just like something I could not have possibly imagined 20 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yes, absolutely. It's that kind of rite of passage for a projector, that once we realize we can lean back, the success is inevitable. But it's that leaning back that sometimes feels so scary and foreign to us, because we've been shown that we need to drive and push and force. But that's true for a generator, because that's their mechanics. But for a projector, it's the opposite. But it's almost like you feel like you're on a cliff edge. It's like, can I really live this way? Is struggle really not for me? Am I meant to have ease and flow? And so for all of us as projectors, we have an individual and unique journey through that process, depending on our level of trust and belief, the support around us. And I love that you also say that for you, you didn't just jump from one to another, as far as going, okay, I can't do this anymore, so I'm just going to leap naively into something else. You were very, very strategic and intentional about going, okay, I need to build out this next chapter. And I think for a lot of projectors, that season, many of us will resist it, because we just want to get out of it. Once you've seen it and you're like, this is not healthy for me this way, and you see all these successful entrepreneurs, particularly within the wellness space, it looks easy. And so you're like, well, I'll just go over there and do that. And I see a lot of projectors really crumble in that, and they're better off staying in employment if that is actually supporting your ease and flow more, and you haven't got the bones yet for that entrepreneurial journey. But I love what you've shared of, you really saw what was possible. And you're like, I need to build this out while I'm over here, because it just defeats the purpose if you're dysregulating your nervous system, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I hired a coach, to navigate this transition phase. And I was like, I know where I'm going, but I have no idea how I'm going to get there. I didn't even know exactly what I was founding, what I would start my entrepreneurship, how I'm going to make money. And in less than 3 months, I have created and came down to my essence and to what I want to, how I help people. And so I developed my own coaching transformation formula. So today, this is what I coach women, particularly, to really live and build this dream without disrupting themselves, doing it in total alignment with not just their purpose, but also with their uniqueness of energy and human design, so that it actually feels that way that they so much desire and long for. And it's oftentimes, especially for us projectors, we need to be seen. We need to be seen by someone else. And that's why it's so helpful and recommended to work with coaches. I'm sure you agree.
Yes. And two points actually on what you've raised. I love that. My first question is not question really. First, I'll say I love that you've said like you've got a methodology. That is such a key point for projectors. You can't just kind of be fluffy. Projectors are here to master. So the fact that Greta is saying, I've developed this methodology and this is my coaching methodology, that is a really important anchor point. And I think that doesn't often get recognized, because we might see manifestor coaches that are just initiating all these creative projects everywhere and it's all going beautifully. And you're like, well, I want to do that too every month. But to really anchor into your expertise, and as a second line, as that hermit, that's her calling. She's really pulled into that as a calling.
Yes, but I'm not sure,
Okay.
because
Because you have a lot of projects too.
I have a lot of projects, and
Yeah.
I've never been just, this is my signature method and this is what I do and nothing else. That's not me, actually. Like, I'm extremely infinitely creative, and I get energy from starting new projects. Like, this is why I'm such a great coach for people that want to start something, because I'm perfect in the startup phase, because there's like, I can see the whole thing blown out, and how it would work out and be successful, and what's needed, the resources in the right place to get momentum going. So
Yes.
I love that for myself as well. Like, I get excited starting new projects, starting new businesses, and I'm not the one like focusing on just one thing, actually. So I don't know what you can tell me about about me in that sense. And I don't think I'm the typical projector in this sense. And also, maybe it's my Kundalini practice. Possibly, I would say that through this practice, I have tapped into an infinite source of energy. And before this, I didn't have this energy. I was looking and needing energy as a classical projector from people, outside, food, sex, joy, pleasure. I really needed that. And now I don't. I am really, I mean, I'm not saying that I don't like these things. I absolutely like these things and prioritize them. And I'm in the right place in Italy
Absolutely. That's why we're here.
to enjoy those things. But I am really self-sufficient in terms of my energy. And that has been just a massive breakthrough. It's this self-sufficient energy generation through my Kundalini practice that everyone can do. And we all have an infinite source of energy. We're just not taught how to tap into that and how to nourish and nurture ourselves.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad that you brought that up. I'll circle back to the other point I was going to ask you, because I'm glad you brought the Kundalini in, because I had the pleasure of going to one of Greta's classes actually not too long ago, the other Sunday it was. And I've done some Kundalini practice before, but I didn't know I was a projector when I was doing it. And so, of course, in Greta's class, I'm just like, this is really interesting to now look through Kundalini, the energetic practice of this modality, through the lens of a projector, sharing it with the open sacral and movement of that Kundalini energy and cycling energy through the body. And I think what I really recognized is so key about Kundalini in specifically is that it can be an independent practice, right? Greta can do her Kundalini practice in isolation for herself as a self-serving modality. And I think a lot of potential traps for projectors is sometimes if we're in group classes, not Kundalini, but just anything in a gym, we're just feeding off the sacral energy. And then that can actually burn us out because we're doing maybe a HIIT workout or something really extreme that's not working with our energy. It's working with the sacral energy around us. We're borrowing it for that time that we're around those generators. Whereas Greta, your Kundalini practice is a very self-serving practice, right? Obviously you teach it and share it, but your practice began with you. Is
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So are you saying that the modality of the Kundalini practice in itself is a self-sufficient practice compared to a HIIT class, or
Yeah,
what do
because
you mean?
you can do it for yourself. Like
Yeah.
you particularly as a teacher, you have done your Kundalini teacher training, you are a Kundalini practitioner. So that being like your choice within the yoga world is very, very interesting as a projector because you also have a lot of openness in your chart. So you have a defined root and you've got the defined solar plexus the same as me. So our emotional
Crown.
system is really well served by movement, but we're not designed for like running marathons and like these kind of extreme forms of daily exercise. You've got the open sacral and you've also got the open G and the open throat. So that whole centered channel for you has a lot of openness to it. So the Kundalini is also cleansing those chakra systems within you as well. Yeah, but
Totally.
you're cultivating your own energy. You're, if anything, you're drawing it through your solar plexus, your root to
Yeah.
fuel your whole system. You're not going into a gym and doing a sacral based workout, if that kind of makes sense. That was what I kind of recognized, and I was like, this is a really great practice actually for a
Yeah.
projector because it is
Yeah, it
giving
is.
you that energy circulation.
Exactly. And as you say, not just the energy circulation, but also the cleansing and clearing of the
Totally,
entire chakra system, which I think we really need, or especially
totally.
me with those open centers, being very susceptible to people's energies and projections and, being empathetic and and all of this as a as a perfect
Yes.
ideal coach, you want to cleanse that. And Kundalini is just fantastic for it because we do a lot of pranayama, a lot of breath work, and I always imagine it's like an eight, like in my
Yes.
body is an eight. So I generate the energy from my sacral, I pull it up, I cleanse the system, it comes back down. It's very circular, and this is really self-sufficient. And honestly, it's been another layer of transformation, transforming my life because I can do it by myself. I can do it no matter where I am. I can do it with a
Yes.
broken hand. There's a
Yes.
million different variations of exercises that hardly any other yoga practice can offer.
Yes.
And so I love to practice it, and I have my daily practice, but I also really, really love to share it because it's so helpful in
Yes.
today's time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I really love that. And it really pulls into another thing that we have a real focus on within the membership and within my approach with projectors. It's around detox and deconditioning. It's being aware of our open centers and the fact that we are taking in from other people, from experiences, different energies through that openness, but that's also not a bad thing. We need to have that openness. It's where we gain our wisdom in life, but you need to clean it up too. It gets clogged and congested, and icky people can reside there. And so you
Yeah.
want to be having this cyclical cleansing and clearing, this sort of detox and retox. It's otherwise you're not living life. Like you can't stay clean all the time, but you want to have those methodologies and tools that you can tap into. And so so I think it's so beautiful that Kundalini arrived for you and that it's worked so well for you at the time that you were going through this transition, and now you use it to serve other people as well, and yourself, and keep those creative juices flowing. So yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, beautiful.
And the other thing that I wanted to circle back to was regarding coaching, and the coach that you had. One thing that I've personally experienced within the coaching space, and I think is a potential hazard for projectors, is being coached by generator coaches. Because a lot of the approaches and systems and structures that work for generators are just not in alignment for projectors. And I've seen this a lot. I've experienced it a lot. I've also gone the extreme of saying, well, I'm only going to work with projector coaches. That doesn't necessarily work either. So do you have any opinion or experience around that yourself personally? Particularly, you know, with projectors being the guides, it's like, well, who coaches us? You know, if we're the guides, like who's guiding us other than ourselves?
Other than ourselves, yeah. I don't know what all of my coaches, what that design they were. I do know, however, that my first coach was a projector, and she was probably the best. She was
Yeah.
definitely the best. And I felt like I've never actually found someone like as good as she was back then ever again. And I, some like I heard once, oh, you're uncoachable. And I'm like, yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, like it hit me, and I was like, ouch, like that's not a compliment. But then I was like, yeah, probably because what you're telling me is just not applicable and doesn't work for me. I
Bravo.
know
Yeah.
myself much better, and what you're telling me is bullshit, or
Yes.
the way you're trying to convey it as a truth for all is bullshit. And so I'm sorry, yes, I'm uncoachable by you because what you're projecting is not working for me and doesn't
Yes.
honor my integrity and my sovereignty. Because I think at certain point as a projector, if you know all of these, if you really know yourself well enough, you become sovereign. You should. That's the
You
aim.
have to, yes.
Have to.
That's like the pinnacle. That's where it all begins, really, because we really do have to hold that sovereignty and go, I am open to people and experiences and things, but I have to put everything through my own authority, my own alignment. Is this for me or is this not for me? And that's okay. I can kind of put it aside.
Can I ask you a question, Ann-Maree?
Yes.
What do you think that projectors are kind of like doomed to self-coach themselves for the rest of their lives, and that we're actually not coachable?
That's
What's
a
your take on
really
this?
that's a really interesting question, and it's kind of why I started the membership. I was actually really reluctant to work with projectors because it is really hard to universalize things for projectors. I'm a 3/5. I'm here to universalize. And projectors are so unique that they kind of have to do a little bit of both. Projectors do well, particularly if they've got circuitry with community, then they do well in groups. But a lot of projectors have to have that sovereignty as well. And so within the membership, it's like, this is not me leading you guys and coaching you guys. This is a space where we are co-creating, and you bring your gifts and I want to learn from you and you learn from her and him. And so we actually all get to stand on the same platform together because we all have something different to offer. And I think what you mentioned about sort of being uncoachable, like you have a defined head center and a defined ajna. The defined head is rare, and having the connection with the ajna, you are able to see things and put things into systems and structures that other people will just not be able to see. Like that is a talent for you. And if you've got a coach that has an open head and kind of runs in a different form of mechanic, then they're not going to be able to coach you.
Or to help me.
Yeah, so there's definitely this balance between the most important thing for projectors is to know themselves, but also not get so bogged down in knowing themselves because we're here for everybody else. So do your work, but don't forget to be out there serving because that's what we're here for.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, that resonates and lands with me a lot. Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Because we're kind of roughly at time, but if there's anything that's come through for you that you wanted to share.
At this point, I really love conversations like this, and I love to receive questions. So if there's anyone interested in any more details or any more, part of my stories, very happy to share. And this is really what you said, like, and now definitely birthing into this full teacher guide person. I've been before, but now I felt it's like a level of maturation into that role, because this is 100% aligned to my projector nature. Actually, like the teaching and the wisdoms come because people ask, because students are in class, because different life stories come into my field, and then I'm able to add to this.
Yes.
It doesn't come like, oh, I'm telling you how things are supposed to
Yes.
be, but it's generated through the connection and the interrelationship and the exchange with other people, and that's so fulfilling. And so,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that is so
Mm.
perfect what you've expressed, because your internal determination, which is kind of how your brain cognition works, it's all there, but it needs to be pulled from you. That's who you are in the world. Like, it's not about you going, I'm going to share this for this reason. People come to you and it's drawn from you. That's your correct alignment. And so it's really beautiful that you kind of recognize that in your way as well. And you're able to create spaces and places for people that can happen, because that's the projector magic.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, and it's very serving in a way, I just briefly want to tell about my latest business project, which is opening a physical space, a yoga studio, in the first one in Ostuni in town. And I was very hesitant to do so because, first of all, you need a lot of energy to then run it. But quickly, I was like, I'm not going to do this by myself. I will do this in community, and I will have people that have energy to run it. I'm just a visionary, and I see that this place wants to be birthed, wants to come and exist in here in this city or in this area. So I followed that call. And in the second instance, I was like, actually, it's perfectly aligned to me, because I want that space and I need that space. Like, when people can come to me physically, I blossom. Like, that teacher, that wisdom sharer is activated. And I get so much fulfillment from that. And I get so much purpose and calmness, because for too long, and I think it was a period in COVID, I wasn't sharing as much because we were so digitally confined. And I
Mm.
literally felt like, oh my God, all of this wisdom, all of this knowledge, all of this thought processes, and all of this sense making that I would constantly do all the time naturally with life, no matter what's happening, couldn't come out. So I didn't have a vessel other than my social media, but I was living a completely opposite lifestyle than what the whole world was living. So I was like, oh my God, I'm like really out of the schemes. Like, let me be a little bit undercover, like not go show everything. But I was living a completely different reality. And so I felt really the oppression and how it impacted me negatively, because I did not have such a clear vessel and to share what I was making sense of. So to come back, this is probably projectors. Just find your way to share your gifts, because that's what we're here for, and that's why we're so precious to others and to this world. And yeah, all of the self-doubt, all the self-deprecation, and all of the bullshit stories and programming that we know shouldn't shine too bright and shouldn't be too out there, and should conform and only share what is, conform. No, none of that.
No.
Share your uniqueness.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're very right. We gravitate people to us. So you find that way to be visible, and then you will magnetize your fractal, your people, and then it just reciprocates because we get fueled by that and we offer.
That is actually like a last key point, maybe the magnetization and the radiance. And this is the essential. I mean, Kundalini yoga really is a full body workout, and including and especially working on all of our subtle bodies. So radiant body, aura, energetic body, subtle body, soul body, you know, all of these things that you don't work out at the gym. You definitely don't. But we projectors magnetize like this. We, as you said, we gravitate people towards us. And this only happens if you have a strong aura, if you have a clear magnetic field, if you're aligned and clear in your projection so that the right things come.
Absolutely.
And that's why Kundalini, again, is so helpful, because it does exactly that. It goes into these other subtle bodies that are energetic bodies and just clears it and cleanses it and like aligns you and sets you up in such a short time.
It's very efficient, which is what projectors are all about. So if you're watching this, book a Kundalini class wherever you are in the world. At least let it run through your system, have an experience. If you are more fortunate, Greta offers retreat experiences here in Puglia. So I will be putting all of her details in underneath this interview, and you'll have all the ways to connect with her. And she works online, even though she has this studio and she's got physical retreats. You can also work with her and connect with her online. And yeah, she's an absolute powerhouse, and it's been an absolute delight and a ray of sunshine for me to connect with her here in Puglia. I'm so grateful. And so thank you so much for your time, Greta. It's been an absolute blessing. And thank you for sharing so openly your wisdom and your experience with the rest of our community here.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And I'm also so grateful to have met you here and to know you here in Puglia. And that we, will continue being by our sides and do things together.
Absolutely.
Thank you.